Good afternoon, and welcome today to a very special edition of the OREA, Oklahoma Retired Educator Association webinar series. My name is John Green with Association Member Benefits Advisors. I'll introduce myself in just a moment. I'm joined by your Executive Director of OREA, Sabra Tucker. Do a couple of quick housekeeping details, and we'll jump right in and let Sabra talk a little bit about OREA and what their purpose is, because this is a little bit different audience that we're with today. All participants are on a listen only mode. And what that means is if you've got a question or you want to make a comment, drop it into chat or Q&A and Sabra and I will monitor that. If it's a question that the whole group could benefit from, we'll stop and share that. If not, maybe we'll get back with you after the fact or answer as we're going through here. We do record these webinars. If this is your first time that you've ever joined an OREA webinar after school, we appreciate that. You can go out to orea.org and you can go out and see these webinars under the benefits tab, and you can take a look at some of the previous webinars or take a look at this one that's recorded. They'll probably be out there early next week, and then you can share it with a spouse, a friend, some of your coworkers, get to know OREA, and then get to know some of the steps that you're going to see as you prepare for retirement. You're also going to see a QR code at the beginning, at the end, and maybe throughout the conversation. Works just like the QR codes do in restaurants today. All you do is take your smartphone, open up your camera feature, hover over that QR code. You can start the conversation about some different things, and we'll talk about that as we go forward here. But I want to bring in Sabra Tucker here, who is a former educator, former principal in Oklahoma, and she is the executive director of OREA. And Sabra, I want you to share with our group, since most of our group are probably active educators, who is OREA? What's your purpose? What do you do? And why are they here today?
Thanks, John. Well, the Oklahoma Retired Educators Association is a member association. You join, and we have been in existence since 1952, and we exist. Our primary mission is to fight to defend and protect the benefits to Oklahoma's educators for their retirement. That would be specifically their public pension, that their retirement that they will receive. It's a defined benefit plan. And also, many retirees stay on the state insurance plan. We work to help protect that provided benefit through it's called EGID, the Employee Group Insurance Division. And we also try to make available and watch out for our members who aren't necessarily eligible for that state plan by providing some plans as a member of OREA that has a discounted price so that they can continue to take care of their health in their retirement years. We also have, I don't know if you'd call it a networking or a social function, but we have local chapters across the state in about 40 counties. And those groups meet, I would say on average, they meet monthly to get together. They have special speakers come in. They stay up to date on the latest with the legislature and public policy that affects Oklahoma's education retirees. And in addition, many of them are involved at the community level. You will find no one in a community that works harder to add to the quality of life for people in their community than retired teachers. It is amazing. If I notice at my church, the people who are volunteering, retired teachers. At community activities, the people volunteering, retired teachers. They still work to continue. It's almost like a carryover of I help nurture these citizens in their youth, and now I'm carrying that into my retirement years and making my community a better place. So retired teachers are the best volunteers, and they just, they just keep going. It's great. So that's who we are. And as the executive director, I'm proud to help represent the interest of Oklahoma's about 67,000 retirees. And we have about 14,000 of them as members, and would like to grow those numbers just simply because at the legislature, when it comes time to protecting those benefits, numbers are loud. The number of people that we represent matters to those people making policy.
Okay, you mentioned the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
Some folks will ask, well, is OREA a politically active group? Do you support individual candidates? How does that work?
Yes, we now as an association, we facilitate involvement on policy and impacting public policy, but specifically as an association under Oklahoma law, we don't endorse political candidates with any membership dollars. We do have a separate entity called well, it's a political action committee. And John, all of those contributions can be made voluntarily by people who are members of the OREA. So if people decide to give above and beyond their membership dollars, we have people sometimes that will send in $10 at a time. And that money can be used to contribute to political candidates. And then we have a vetting process. We don't really care what party you represent. What we're concerned about is how will you represent the interest of retired educators. And so party, I mean, we know what party they are, but more importantly, we know that they have pledged to support retired educators. You know, will they protect our pension? Will they look for ways to maybe give a cost of living adjustment or some type of benefit increase? So that is our interest politically. And those are our only interests. I mean, there are lots of things that people can get politically involved in, but we have a very short list of goals, all which revolve around supporting teachers, retirees, and schools.
Great.
That's it. That's what we do.
Outstanding. Well, I want you to hang around because there's many times we're going to get a lot of questions. I want your commentary on some of the stuff we talked about today. But for $3.50 a month in a pension deduction or $42 annually, you can sign up for OREA membership. And I think you're going to see how the benefits. It's such a small investment to protect your biggest asset. And we're going to talk about the pension plan. We're going to talk about the processes and things like that as we go through here as well. My name is John Green. I live a little bit north of Houston with my wife, who is a second grade elementary school teacher. I started my elementary school years in Bethany at Lake Park Elementary School. And so I appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you. I've spent most of my career, about 30 years in schools, helping active educators understand what their retirement years are like. So we appreciate the opportunity. We thank you after a busy day at school for those of you to join us here today and work through here. So just kind of recap what Saber mentioned here. OREA is out there as a pit bull watching over your pension to make sure that what you've earned while you've been taking care of our kids, that's out there to help preserve those health benefits, any type of stipend or supplement that goes towards those benefits, keeping those costs in line, that type of thing. That's what the association does on your behalf. And then get you connected to your local community. We have many teachers that retire and say, all right, now what? They may take on a second career. They may go to volunteering, things like that. They still want to keep connected with people that they taught with, or maybe that taught in their community. That's a way to do that. And then OREA partners with folks like us at AMBA, Association Member Benefits Advisors, to bring exclusive benefits, discounts, fun stuff, ways to make your pension check stretch even further, things that you can even take care of or take advantage of now as an active educator. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Today, we want to help you find where your resources are. And I will tell you, having worked with Saber for several years now, she is number one, your resource for those of you who are thinking about retiring. We'll talk about that in a moment. We want to show you where your resources are, what you need to do right now, whether you're going to retire in December, next summer, or 3 or 4 years from now. You've got some steps you need to take now. We'll walk you through the timeline of what you need to do. We're going to send you 2 documents that will help you kind of start your journey and make sure that you've got those in there. And then what happens once you decide to retire, how that clock starts ticking really quickly. We'll talk about return to work options, and then what about benefits, things like that, what you need to be aware of. Before we do that, so that Saber and I kind of know who we have on the call today, I want to launch a quick poll. And so I want you to tell us what your plans are. When you plan on retiring, if you haven't retired yet. I plan on retiring in December, at the end of this school year, in the next 1 to 2 years, or longer than 2 years. So answer that question. We've got about a dozen of you on the call, so I want to kind of get a feeling for who's on that call. If you're joining us on your smartphone, you may not be able to do that, but if you're on your school computer, you can probably do that as well. So We'll open that up for just a few more minutes here, a few more seconds, I should say, and we'll roll through. And we're going to close that out in 3, 2, 1. All right, so we've got about 2/3 of the group that are going to retire in the next 1 to 2 years, one that's going to retire at the end of this year. So congratulations to you. And then one that's a little bit longer than 2 years. So that kind of gives us the ability to know who you are, where you are. And I think you're in the right place, because we're going to walk through this timeline and kind of show you what you need to do. So there's some things we want you to do right now. I want you to go to oklahoma.gov/TRS and go out to the active member section, my TRS member portal. And then you're going to open up a screen like this down here at the bottom. It's going to say my TRS member portal, log in, register, or log in. So you want to go ahead and set your account up right now. Do that right now. If you have any challenges with that, you can call 405-521-2387. Sabre will tell you you're probably going to have to leave a message, but they will call you back. And so any idea, Sabre, what the turnaround time is on calls into the TRS?
It kind of depends on the call volume that's
Okay.
happening at the time, but they take great pride in their turnaround time. They report on it at every TRS Board of Trustees meeting. So like if you were to call right now, you might not get a call back this afternoon just simply because they're nearing the close of business, but I bet somebody will call you tomorrow.
Okay, super. So set your TRS portal up. When they set that up, Sabre, what goes on inside that portal? What are they doing?
Well, they are establishing basically like an online bank account almost, John. They can see how the first thing they'll need to do is check the districts to make sure every district you've worked in is listed there, and the amount contributed on your behalf by your school district. If you have any missing years, now is the time to address that. And because you're going to have to work with your district human resources personnel office, and they'll be able to see to do some kind of rough projections. John, they can actually see that, okay, if I've taught this many years and I paid in this amount of money and times their multiplier, what can I kind of expect as my monthly benefit?
Okay.
So there's some great tools inside of there. Also, once you're a retiree, you'll keep that same account and be able to see like what your monthly deposits will be, what deductions you may have from your check. And you can do things like print 1099s for tax purposes, all those. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for your online management of your retirement.
Okay. Will you also see your current beneficiaries out there on that site?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. They're constantly working to improve that. You can also, I believe, request the form to change your beneficiary in that portal.
Right.
I haven't gotten on mine in a few months. I can't recall off the top of my head, but they are constantly working to improve that. In fact, they report on that, and our TRS is very forward thinking and trying to take care of its clients. So, but yes, if you haven't set that up, I encourage you to do so at your earliest possible convenience.
Absolutely. So go set that up now. So write down oklahoma.gov/TRS. I'm going to send you some forms that you're going to be able to find on here, but we're going to send those to you as well. You can always call that phone number. We mentioned beneficiaries, and you're going to hear Sabre and I talk about beneficiaries and use the B word a bunch of times today. And we'll tell you why, but make sure you always check your beneficiaries. Anytime you check your benefits at school, your beneficiaries here with your TRS pension as well. So this is a form that we're going to start to send you today, because it gives you a really good timeline of what you need to do when you're eligible, what your benefits are, how it's calculated, but more importantly, what the steps are for retiring. I'm not going to try to cover this. It's too small here. We're going to take some highlights off of this, but everyone on this call today, we're going to send you two forms. We're going to send you this form, which is the Retirement Ready Retiring with TRS. And then we're going to send you this form or as a timeline. It's a PDF that's got the timeline of everything that you need to do. And so the first one that we've got that said they're going to retire is next summer at the end of the school year. It's important to know you need to back up your timelines about 90 days or more so that you've got everything put in place. And we're going to walk you through some of those steps, but the timeline form and that form we just showed you beforehand, we're going to send those two forms out to you PDF right after this call. Everyone gets the copy of those so that you can see exactly what you have to do, because you have to get paperwork in by a certain time, certain notarized paperwork, things of that nature, all set up before a certain time period to make sure that you get your paychecks on time. And we're going to share with you some of Sabra's tips as we walk through here as well. All right. So to start the retirement process, so for the individual who is getting ready to start, you're going to submit the PIV, the pre-retirement information verification. It's TRS form 3, and you'll be able to see that on the website pretty easy. The earlier you submit it, the better, but 6 to 9 months prior to retirement is going to give you the most accurate information, because it's going to take into account all of your years of service, all of those things out there. You're going to put all of your personal information on there, your last 4 of your social security number or your Q number. Now, what's your Q number, Sabra? What is that?
Well, John, that one catches me by surprise. It might be your teacher ID.
Okay.
Your
It had
certificate
something to do
number.
with your TRS account or something like that. So it's
Yeah.
very possible that's what that is. So, okay. And then your anticipated date of retirement, the joint annuitant. Now that's going to be the person, depending upon how you choose to pay your annuity out, your pension annuity out, their date of birth, because that's how they will calculate your pension. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment and really point that out, because that's a very important selection that you have to make. So it's important to understand who that joint annuitant's date of birth is, and then unused sick days, because if you've got 120 sick days, that's a year of service that you can use, and that's very valuable out there. So we'll talk about that as we go through here. So that's how you start the process. And then you're going to get an estimate package back. You're going to get a cover letter in that estimate package. You're going to get an OREA membership package in there too, a letter that says, hey, congratulations on your upcoming retirement. Don't forget about OREA. Here's where you need to be involved in that. So you'll put your application to retire in there with your date, your service years, your pension payment options. We're going to walk you through those options in just a moment. Explanation of what those payments are and the options and all that. We're going to talk about the partial lump sum option, the PLSO. If you're eligible for partial lump sum option, that can really have a dramatic impact on your pension. Things you need to think about. Sometimes we think, pool of money, but you got to really be careful and plan this out possibly that way. And then if you've got some type of mixed service, whether you've worked in higher education, whether you've worked for the state, there's all different things. You're going to have all those options and estimates based on your service and where you've had that service. And to Sabra's point, the earlier you set up your TRS account, the better you can make sure that all those things are counted in and taken in account of. So you're going to get that estimate package. Then you're going to complete that estimate package and you're going to be able to select your retirement payment options. Now, I want to spend some time on this because you have several different options. These options, depending upon your financial situation, your health situation, the age of your spouse or your survivor, can have a great impact on how long your pension lasts. There's a maximum option that allows you the highest amount of payments that you can get right off the bat. That, depending upon how old you are and what that payment amount is and how long you've taught, that could only last a few years. And if something happened to you, your survivors would get the balance upon death. You've got option 1, which is a slightly lower payment than the maximum option. They kind of show that it's going to run out 11 to 12 plus years, depending upon your age and service and all that. And again, your balance goes to your survivors. Then you start to get into some options that are basically you can't outlive, which is kind of a neat thing. Your pension, you have worked all your career. Here's a super benefit that a lot of people in the private sector would love to have, but you can't outlive it. Option 2 is what is called the 100% joint and survivor. And what that means is you'll get paid X amount as long as you're alive. And then once you pass away, if your surviving beneficiary is still around, they will receive the exact same amount as long as they're alive. Option 3 is the 50% for the survivor, meaning that you'll get a fixed amount, say $1,000. I'm just throwing a number out there. And once you pass away, your survivor will receive half of that for the rest of their life. Option 4 is a 10-year guarantee period that you'll receive a pretty good lump, or not lump sum, but a pretty good amount for 10 years. But if something happens to you before that, your survivor will receive the rest of those payments for 10 years. If you have a partial lump sum that you take out, that could impact your payments. We're going to talk about PLSO in just a moment. That could greatly impact your payments. So you've got to be very disciplined, diligent to sit down and look at what you're going to do with your pension. We don't want someone to make a decision that says, oh, I get a lot of money up front, and then when you're in your 70s and 80s and your pension is less than what you need it to be. So make sure that you take very clear look at what your pension options are and how that works out. If you do have a beneficiary or survivor of your benefits, what their age is, what their health conditions could be, because some plans do allow for changes to beneficiaries if something happened to them before you passed away. Some don't. Some plans will reduce your benefit if you'd say you have an adult child who has special needs and you make that person your beneficiary. That could impact your pension payout as well. All of your plans have a $5,000 death benefit that go along with them. It is a small life insurance. I wouldn't say it's all that you need, but you do have some sort of a death benefit in there as well. So retirement payment options are very, very important. Again, I'm going to use that B word. Your beneficiaries who you select is crucial as to how you get your payments there as well.
John, I would like to also interject
Absolutely.
that when you and I are talking about the maximum option in the option 1, where it says that it could last 2 to 3 years, we're not talking about the pension. The pension is for the rest of your life. Your retirement is not going to go away. That stays. What we're talking about is the cash balance, what they call your cash balance. That would be like, say you died within the month after you retire, for example, you decided to jump out of an airplane and your chute didn't open. Okay. If there was a cash balance in there, that would go to your beneficiary in addition to the $5,000 death benefit.
Right.
So, but you will, even if you take maximum option, that's for the rest of your life.
Right. You will never run out of money. That's the beauty of having a defined benefit plan with your pension. And again, that's why it's so important to be an OREA member, because that's what they're fighting to maintain. There are, I don't want to say forces, there are interests outside that want to convert everything to some type of a 401k type option, defined contribution plan. Again, that puts the responsibility for investing back upon you. And so there's, pros and cons either way, but a pension plan where you can't outlive your payments is so vital. But again, how you want to receive certain amounts of money, what you want to do with a survivor, depending upon their age, their health conditions, those are things you've got to take into account here to make sure that you've got that. So let's talk about this partial lump sum option. To be eligible to receive a partial lump sum option of 12, 24, 36 months, you need to have at least 30 years of service. If you take that money, whether it's 12 months right off the bat, and say you just want to take it, say, I'm going to just do a round the world trip. That's what I want to do. I've been saving, it's been taken on my paycheck. I want to do something. Or you may need it for a health condition. You may need it for home repair, something like that. You can do that. You can do that. Just know that it's going to reduce your subsequent pension payments. As we mentioned, though, you never outlive your pension, but you may just have a reduced payment if you decide to elect a partial lump sum option whenever you retire. Taxes are due on that lump sum payment. So when you take your pension dollars and you get a monthly pension check, you'll have taxes responsible on that one as well, because it is all pre-tax money that you're having taken out or that you're getting paid. But if you do take a lump sum option, you're going to have taxes right away, but you can roll your partial lump sum over to some type of tax qualified plan to defer the taxes if you want to. If you wanted to take some out and for whatever reason think it's time to invest it in the stock market, if you want to make it grow differently, whatever, that type of thing, you've got the ability to do that. Your lump sum, depending upon your age, can be affected even if you've got 30 years. So again, it's so important when you get your paperwork, you get your estimates, look at those things, look through there and say, if I do 12 months, if I do 24 months, how does this impact me now? How does this impact me in the future? And what's it going to look like over a period of time? So again, you got a lot of variables to play with in here. And Sabra, if they make a decision that they don't like 5 years later, what can they do? I see you kind of grimacing there. You can unmute there. What happens?
Well, you're kind of stuck. Now, when we get into each of the options, John, you'll find, like, say I pick 100% joint survivor annuity and my spouse predeceases me, then yes, I can make they will bump me back up to what the maximum option would be
Right.
one time.
Okay.
So, I mean, if there are a significant life change, there are some options, but say I take partial lump sum option and then I decide, oh, I really want my pension to be bigger. You can't pay it back. I mean,
Okay.
you've signed that contract and made that decision.
Right.
So there is some leeway, like I said, for life-changing events. But it's, has to be significant.
Right.
And you can't just say, oh, I changed my mind.
Okay.
So
There you go. All right. And I think divorce is one of those as well.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the death,
Yes.
divorce, something like that, that would be a
Mhm.
life-changing event that you could do, make a
Yes.
change. But to Sabra's point, once you lock it in, it pretty much stays that way. You can't just decide to go back on it or say, hey, I want a bigger pension payment, even though I took a 36-month lump sum out of it. So,
Correct.
okay, great. So we've talked about the partial lump sum. Let's kind of say, all right, everything looks good. I like my estimates. What do I need to do now to officially retire? So you've got to have that completed PIV on file, and you mail your application in, and to be mailed your application to retire. You're going to look at your options. You're going to go through there. Your spouse must sign as well. So that's to protect both of you, to protect the spouse coming back and say, I never knew that I was not going to get anything once they passed away, or I didn't know they were getting a big lump sum and they were going to run off to Vegas without me, all that kind of stuff like that, So your spouse has to sign these documents as well. And then there'll be a timeline in there. It'll say you need to get this back 90 days in advance or X number of days in advance. And once you get everything back in and it's in good order, you're going to have your retirement contract mailed to you with your direct deposit and your tax withholding information. Again, you have to select what your tax withholding is. You're still going to be responsible for it at the end of the year when you file your taxes anyway. But with your tax professional, if you're going to now go do something else after you leave the schoolhouse, if you've got spouse income, all that kind of stuff, you may decide what you want to do with your tax withholding. You've got that option to do that. So once you do all of that, set that up, you get a signed, notarized contract back to them at least 30 days, preferably longer, as long as you've had that 90-day window taken care of, to then start the retirement. Where do people kind of mess up in this area, Sabra?
Well, I will say, John, in Oklahoma, the first 10,000 of your retirement benefit is exempt from tax.
Okay.
And at one time, I'm sure $10,000 was probably a large portion of their, pension. But as time goes by and pension amounts are larger based on, of course, your salary you earned over your career, that $10,000 is not as big as an exemption as it used to be. Also, remember that Social Security, part of Social Security, that could affect your taxes as well. So if you're retiring and taking in that income, and then in Oklahoma, we're not, unlike some, there are about 13 states that are affected by WEP GPO. That if you're not affected by that, don't worry about it. Good for you. But in Oklahoma, most educators are eligible for both their retirement pension and Social Security. So you have to really kind of work with that. I think people probably either overestimate or underestimate the amount of taxes And so that's why, if you have someone that helps you with your taxes, that's a good person to check with.
Exactly. And so there may be some things that are tax exempt at the state level, but you have to pay federal income tax on it. Once you put all of it together, it may impact what you pay for Medicare. I mean, there's all different things that you have to look at. So we highly encourage you, make sure you take care of that. Now, tax withholding, you can change that periodically. So we're not talking about changing.
Absolutely.
You can change your tax withholding. If you mess it up one year, you can go back and do it and
Mhm.
fix it right again. So, okay.
Yeah.
So you get those forms in and it's ready to officially retire. And now it's time to show me that money. So what happens is it comes via direct deposit on the first of the month. Your benefits that you have taken out of it, any withholding are paid in arrears. So your July 1st payment pays for your June retirement and health insurance and all that. If you do need to change your bank account because you move, close your account, got it compromised, whatever, you've got to make it by the 15th of the month to be effective on the next month. So just know that, don't close anything out. You don't want to get that pension check not to go into where it's supposed to go there. So,
And John, I believe they can now make those account changes, all of that right there in the client portal.
Great. They can do that. Now, you told me, we were talking about this earlier in the week, that if they time this right, especially for those that retire at the end of the school year, they could get double payments. I mean, I'm using air quotes. They get their pension
Yes.
and their school checks as well for a couple of months.
Yes. In Oklahoma, most schools are out of session sometime in May. What we mean by that is also a lot of schools are on a 12-month payment period for your 10-month contract. And so you get a check in May, you get a check in June and July and August as well. You technically, if your, say, last day at work is the 20th of May, then you want to retire by June 1st. And that means that you would get your first retirement check July 1. So you're getting your paycheck for June and your retirement check July 1st. So you're getting a couple of, you've got some overage there of those, your school pay and then your retirement pay. So that it's that's one reason it's good to plan ahead so you can get that first retirement benefit by July 1.
Exactly. Great.
Yeah. Now, if you're an administrator and you're on a 12-month contract, that's a little bit different. But, if you, like I said, if your last day of work on the job is sometime in May, you want to make that retirement date June 1. Or if you work into June, like the 10th of June, for example, I know people that work into June on some extra duty things, you'd want to make your retirement date July 1.
There you go. Great. See, that's why Saber's here to help you learn these tips. Now let's talk about your health insurance because it's a little bit different. You do need to make sure that you are on the medical plan. You have to be eligible with 10 years of service to receive your health insurance. And then whatever medical plan that you're on with your district, you're going to continue with that plan. But the school district contribution stops once you retire. And the state supplement of $102 will be paid towards your monthly health insurance premiums. If you drop that health coverage, you lose that $102 supplement. Bottom line, you're going to pay more for your medical coverage regardless, because usually your school pays quite a bit for that. The $102 really doesn't offset that. Your spouse can continue that as a beneficiary on coverage after your death. There is no supplement from the state, however, in that regard. So is there anything that members need to watch out for this in the health insurance arena, Sabra?
Yes. In fact, John, those health insurance premiums can be a little shocking. As an Oklahoma educator, the state funds the price of the Health Choice High Premium to all educators in the state. And that is right now it's been about $615.90. It's going up about another $15 a month in January of 2023. And then and that also will apply to people, say I work until I'm eligible for Medicare. It's more than the state doesn't pay, for your Medicare supplement either. That's why if you have 10 years of service, you're eligible for that $102 credit stipend. Now, when you think about, like, I get my paycheck every month and say it's $2,000, and the state is paying for my health insurance premium. Well, if I retire and say my benefit is $2,000, then I'm going to have to subtract $615.90 out of that for my health insurance premium. So a lot of people are, it's daunting to look at the cost of that health insurance premium for many people. So that's why, I mean, the $102 at once upon a time covered the, that's why it was about $102. It's somewhere between 100 and 105. 102 is the average. But you know, it helps, but it doesn't cover the whole cost.
Right. Okay. So
So that is something to definitely plan for.
the biggest thing that I think you told me was that people sometimes will say, well, I'm retiring. I never was on the health plan because I'm on a spouse's plan. Can I get it now? And but bottom line is you can't get on the state medical plan, right?
Actually, you can get on the plan during when it's open enrollment
Okay.
as an active employee, but without the 10 years, you're not eligible for the supplement of $102.
Okay. So the decision to make is that when it's open enrollment period, before you retire, get on
Yes.
if you're not on. So that keeps you eligible in retirement,
Yes.
but you do not get the supplement because you have not been 10 years in the plan.
Right.
Okay. Super. Okay. Great. Again, that's why we have Saber on here and to answer those questions that way as well. So let's talk about return to work. And this is timely because Kathy asked a question here
Yes.
about going back to work. You can return to work in a school setting. And we find that many educators do that, or they go on and take on a second career somewhere else or another part-time job, whatever it is, to supplement income. If you're going back into school, you've got to be out a full 60 days to go back to a public school. And there are some salary limitations. If you're age 62 and under, you can only make $15,000 in a public school setting. 63 and over, it's $30,000. Substitute work counts towards that amount there. Mm-hmm. There's no limit, no impact on anything, your pension at all if you work outside public education. Mm-hmm. So Sabra, what kind of advice would you give in this situation?
Okay, that's per calendar year. Okay. So say I retire June 1, and in September, I go back and work part-time. If I'm 60 years old, I can make $15,000 through December 31st. And then and then I would have to start over the next semester. So maybe I might just want to do that for a year.
Okay.
I believe there's kind of a workaround, John. If I go back, a lot of people have negotiated this. They'll go back to work part-time and make a small salary, mm-hmm. but then get their insurance paid by the district.
Ah, okay.
And that does not count toward that $15,000 or $30,000 cap.
That's a great tip. Now that your mileage may vary based on the district or.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just kind of up to each district to say, okay. Hey, we'll pay your health insurance premium. And you work, 15 hours or 20 hours a week, and we'll pay you this much money as long as it stays under that cap, TRS, okay. Because if you go over, TRS will claw that money back. They will make you pay that. Well, they won't make you like write them a check, which you can. They'll just reduce your pensions right, until that money's paid back.
All right. So let's Kathy ask a question similar on that. Does she need to do anything in advance in her retirement pension issues if she knows she's going to go back to work? Or do she just take it?
I would say that the best way to work that is to coordinate between your district and the teacher retirement system, because that way they can make sure that she's not going to go over and make too much money to get it clawed back. And then the district can make sure that their needs are met as far, as having the employee in place.
Right.
But I would encourage those two entities to work together. In fact, TRS has told me it's great if the district contacts them and works directly with them as far as employment after retirement.
Okay, super. Kathy, I hope that answers your question well. So coordinate with TRS in the district. I love that little tip about getting benefits paid for. It'd be kind of cool. See if we can try that down here in Texas. So that's a great idea. Love that. All right.
You're
So
welcome.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Kathy typed, thank you. And I wanted to say you're welcome.
All right. So what about
That's
those
a
other
great
benefits?
question.
It is a super question. That's why we have this. If you've got questions, drop it into chat, put it into Q&A. And if it's a question like Kathy's, it's very, very broad for everybody. We'll address that out there. If it's something very specific to your situation, we may take that offline as well about that. So talk about other benefits. You receive other access to other benefits, life insurance, maybe some type of a long-term care, hospital indemnity, cancer plans, things like that, dental, vision, those type of things. Check with your school. Certain plans you can take with you. They go on COBRA, or you just will pay them outside of your paycheck. They can't be deducted from your pension or anything like that. Usually it's life insurance that you can take with you. You saw what the state provides for you as a death benefit. I wouldn't necessarily call it life insurance. That's usually at your expense that way. Certain ones, like I mentioned, are like dental, that are eligible for COBRA for short periods of time. The one nice thing about being an OREA member is that every year you can get a free review for because you're a member of all of your benefits, what you have through the state, what you have personally, to identify what you're going to keep, what you're going to lose, what's available to you through OREA. Those things can be taken care of that way.
And John, I don't know where everyone is geographically on the call, but I can tell you, if you are in a district and a member of a bargaining local through your local teacher association, some people have language in their contracts that allow for when we get to the sick leave part that you're getting ready to talk about, you can also get paid for extra sick leave days. I've seen teachers retire with 250 days of sick leave, and you only need 120 days for your bank of full service, for a full year of service.
Right.
And your district also will compensate you for those extra sick leave days that could have been negotiated.
Great point. So again, depending upon your district, your mileage may vary what you've negotiated. So we're going to give you some other tips. Saber and I kind of walked through some of these things a little earlier, but I really want to hit on beneficiaries again. Too many times, both Saber and I have seen members who have passed away, and we have taken checks out to ex-spouses, not to their current spouse. Or maybe if they've got a life insurance policy or something like that, it goes out to 2 of the 3 kids. I mean, because they never added the 3rd child on. So please, please, please double check your beneficiaries. Do that this week at school on your current benefits. Do it on your TRS as well. So make sure you check those beneficiaries. Anytime you go through a life change, make sure you check your beneficiaries, double check it out there. We talked about the 120 days of sick leave, of saved sick leave. That's 1 full year of service credit. That is valuable, huge out there. And Saber mentioned, if you've got more than that, depending upon your district, what you have available as your representative could have negotiated for you to get paid for that. That's a great way that you can get paid close to possibly what would be your 12-month partial lump sum option and not have to reduce your pension. So it's kind of a cool way to get the best of both worlds out there. We talked about that double pay during summer, if you time it right, the way that you do that. And then we oftentimes hear, I'm retired now, what? I would highly encourage you, as you go into your retirement years, we have a lot of teachers that, as Kathy mentioned, they're going to go back and work part-time, going to go back and, serve in the schools. You want to stay connected. You need the income, maybe you need the benefits. Others will go to work in a different job. So you've got to look at how is that going to work from a tax standpoint, from a benefit standpoint. How does that work if I'm still responsible for adult children, maybe my parents, things like that. Join OREA. There are going to be opportunities. You may say, I don't want to do anything the first year I retire. That's okay. Go and talk with people who have been where you are. Go find out what they did their first few years. Go and find out how they got active or how they decided not to be active for the first year and then they jumped in, that kind of thing. Find out, volunteer, be politically active. Again, what you have as a pension today is because many, many retired educators and OREA fought for that for many years. That can change with the next election cycle. Cost of living adjustments, formulas, contributions towards benefits, all that kind of stuff like that. That's your biggest asset. You've worked your tail off, because I see my wife come home every day. She's dead tired. You work taking care of our kids. Protect your biggest asset. $42 a year, become an OREA member, and become at least politically active in supporting those candidates that support retired educators and active public school education in Oklahoma. You can do no better work to make sure that you're taken care of, because of what many years of retired educators have done to make sure you I should say, retire with your solid pension. And the pension is in pretty good shape up there, isn't it, Sabra? The TRS.
Yes, the Oklahoma teacher retirement system, despite many years of being the brunt of criticism, is now in great condition. We are considered one of the Oklahoma's pension systems top in the nation of some public pension systems. We are not at 100% funded, but we are the highest we've ever been funded, at about 72% right now. We are no longer the brunt of criticism in the pension world, but actually a model for others to follow. And it's a source of pride now when it comes to state policy.
Okay, we touched on COLAs, cost of living adjustments.
Mm.
Is that automatic with pension in Oklahoma, or does that come every periodically so often? How does that work?
Sadly, Oklahoma is a state, what we call, that gives ad hoc COLAs, meaning that it is given at the whim of the legislature. Another reason that the work we do at OREA is so important. Part of your membership dollars covers, the cost of running a very small staff. We have a teeny weeny staff, and we also employ a lobbyist to lobby on behalf. We are very frugal with our member dollars, but one of the things we, last in 2020, John, we were able to get the first COLA in 12 years for education retirees during the pandemic. And so, but it's time for that to happen again. And no one else will be trying to push legislation to get increased benefits for retirees. We're the ones who do it. And so and we're glad to do it, and we're proud to do it, because educators deserve that. But I wish we could get to the point that we are a state that does that automatically to adjust for inflation. But we are not there yet, but that is one of our goals.
At least you have Social Security up there. We wish we had it down here in Texas, but you've got Social Security and a pension. So it's good stuff that you've got, thanks to what OREA does. So again, protect your investment. $42 a year, become a member of OREA, so that when Sabra and many members go to the Capitol and they say we've got 15,000 retired educators, active and retired, it's huge. It speaks volumes to get things moving that way. So that's a great thing to do to protect you out there. So just a real quick blip about who we are. Association Member Benefits Advisors. We've partnered with OREA for many, many years. We are in every state in the nation serving public servant education, state employee associations, and we provide the benefits and the support and the education for the members all across the state. And the advantage of having OREA and AMBA, Association Member Benefits Advisors, who I work for, together is it kind of helps give you benefits that are not covered by the state or your district. Things that maybe that you have now, but you won't have when you leave the schoolhouse, or maybe some of your districts don't offer that. They're portable if you decide to leave Oklahoma for whatever reason. We do have a lot of members that will retire, move to a different state, closer to the grandkids, things like that. You can take these benefits wherever you go. But the biggest benefit of being an OREA member is that you can take these benefits that you see on the left side of the screen and extend them to your parents. Extend them to family members who aren't eligible for your benefits at school. So if you've got a son or daughter that aged out of your benefits at school, can no longer get dental or vision, something like that, you can pick that up through your membership in OREA and have access to that. And then, as Sabra mentioned, we have many members who retire earlier in their career and either go back part-time or they retire, go on to work somewhere else, but they're still responsible if a parent fell ill, that they would have to quit their job, or they may have to leave their teaching career early, which could stunt your pension. And with an OREA membership, you could have access to benefits that can take care of your parents in a long-term care setting or at home, something like that. So that's a good reason to be a member of OREA, to have access to these benefits. So if you've got questions, drop those into chat or Q&A. We're about wrapping this up here at the top of the hour. If you want to find out more about your benefits, have somebody review your benefits, walk you through the process, all you've got to do is take your smartphone, open up your camera feature, hover over that QR code, and then a little form will pop up. You can hit your finger on it, select benefit review, something specific that you have questions about, fill that out. It comes back to me. Someone will give you a call, email, set it up after hours. If you want them to come to school after hours, they can do that. They can do Zoom, in person, whatever it is, on the phone. If you're on your smartphone or on a tablet and you don't have access to the QR code, you can simply email me, john.green@amba.info, down there at the bottom. We'll come back and give that to you here in just a moment. One of the things that Sabre and I do as part of OREA's education back to retirees and to active educators is we have webinars every Tuesday. Now, I know you're teaching class at 10:30, usually most mornings. You can pick these webinar recordings up on the OREA.org website. Under the benefits section, you'll see the webinars and the recordings out there. We talk about long-term care. We've got protecting your nest egg. And then we have a really cool benefit. It's a free benefit for OREA members called Passport Program. It's travel discounts, shopping, dining discounts all across the state, across the country, and across the world. That alone would pay for your OREA membership, just saving it one time on renting a car or a hotel. So encourage you to become an OREA member, find out about these benefits, and get involved with OREA. Tell your coworkers about these webinars. Tell your coworkers about OREA. Again, for those of you who are retiring in the next 1 to 2 years, now is the time to get on board with OREA. Have that smooth transition into retirement. Have somebody that advocates for your pension. Have somebody that can cover your benefits and let you know what you've got out there and how to walk through that paperwork and those all important decisions out there. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Sabre, is there any other tips that have popped into your mind in your years of teaching and principling and running schools and now seeing retirees come to you and go, what do I do? Anything else you want to share? If you'll unmute.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that people know there are lots of resources out here to help you in the retirement process. And if you like, John, I appreciated when you said, get involved, but yeah, a lot of people are like, I am meetinged out. I am tapped out. I just want to relax. That's fine. That's the one good thing about being an OREA member is that we're working on your behalf while you're laying on the beach in Hawaii and enjoying your retirement. We're up at the Capitol working on your behalf, and we don't require you to go to any meetings. No faculty meetings required. But yeah, enjoy your time with your family, with friends, with grandchildren. You've earned it. And if you're ever ready to plug in, we're here for you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your expertise. And for those of you on the call, I work with associations all across the country. There's no stronger advocate for individual retirees than Sabre. I've seen her work with teachers who are coming out into retirement. What do I do? How do I get involved? What paperwork do I fill out? Sabre walks them through that. If a retiree has issues, Sabre walks them through that. She will fight for you. That's what OREA does on your behalf. So Sabre, thank you for doing that for educators in Oklahoma. I'm going to leave this screen up. If you've got questions, I'll hang on for a few more minutes. I'm going to stop the recording, but you can ask questions if you want to hold up your hand on the reaction bar. We can take something live offline, so to speak, but I can also put questions in chat